Welcome back, Tulare fans. Today I'm going to introduce you to a test bed, and then we're going to simple two-sider, and then we're going to configure that test bed. So let's get to introducing so we can get to configuring. Here in front of me, on the left side, we have a network control node. This is going to be at our data center colo. Our NCN here is a T750. And what we have here is we have a 45 meg up and down MPLS and a 20 meg up and down internet circuit. And we've elected to go inline dual bypass pair on the T750, and then that's running over to our remote site, client T510, who backhauls all their internet traffic goes to that data center colo, and he has a meg and a half MPLS, and that's going to run through our bypass pair on port 1 and 2, and then on port 3. We'll have an untrusted zone, which means it's internet facing with no firewall in between. Whereas over here, as you can see, we have a firewall and a public IP out on that firewall. So simple two-sider, and let's get to configure. Alright. So first thing we're going to do is log into the box, go to Manage Network, APN Configuration Editor, and we're going to hit New. And we will slide this slider over. And first right here, APN settings. Now this is a global setting. These are our security settings. Here is where you can set whether we're going to be using what type of encryption, whether it's going to be AES 128-bit or 256. We also got some super secret squirrely options down here below that you can choose if you so like. Typically banking and credit unions are most likely ones to use that. But here again, simple two-sider. I just wanted to show you what that was there. First site we're going to configure. First site we're going to configure is going to be our primary NCN, and that's going to be at Raleigh, and it's going to be that T750. Alright, it's typed in. Our secure key is what's going to be used to encode the AES encryption. And you know, it's unique per site. I'm going to change this model number, so you can actually do it yourself. It auto-gens for you, either one. And then as far as modes go, we have three modes. We have a primary NCN, network control node. We have a secondary, which acts as a geographically diverse, meaning it can be an NCN in another region of the world. So you know, if that, God forbid, that earthquake or whatever happens, it's safely somewhere else. And then we can have a client as well. We need clients, so it's going to serve as a client. But in this scenario, it's going to be primary NCN. And we'll start off with basic settings. So those were our basic settings, and then grayed out we have some direct route costs of 5 and our gateway part timer of 1,000 milliseconds or once per second will ARP out. Enable source MAC learning. Won't need it for this scenario. Basically just tells the Tulare, hey, act like a switch, dumb switch without spanning tree. Let's get into what we do need though. We're basically going to have to configure our ports. We're going to have to assign IP addresses to that ports and configure our WAN links, right? We got to get these two sites built. So the first thing we're going to do is tell us what ports we're going to use and how are we going to treat those ports. So let's go ahead and add that up. So we know we're going to be using here, let me just show you that diagram again. Over here at the NCN side, we're going to be using port 1, 2, 3, and 4. Alright, so I'm going to click on these, port 1, 2, 3, and 4. And the bypass mode is going to be fail to wire. You know, fail to wire means, you know, if the Tulare loses power or if the service is disabled, it just acts like a bump in the wire. Traffic continues to flow just like it normally would, just an overlay. The other option would be fail to block, and fail to block would mean, hey, those ports are going to act like a router port, right? Router turned off, traffic does not flow. It doesn't go anywhere. It just stops in its tracks. But we like the idea of fail to wire in this scenario. So security zones. Well, there's two zones. There's trusted and untrusted. Trusted means it's going to be protected, right? We're going to be sitting behind that firewall and in this trusted zone here. Outside of the firewall is going to be an untrusted zone. right? That's where your traffic's unprotected, and you just don't know what's going on out there. So in this scenario, since we're behind the firewall and on the MPLS, we're in a trusted zone. All right, and then the virtual interfaces. Now this is going to tell us. I'll just arbitrarily name them. I like to name them with the ports, and that way you'll see later how you can just do the pull down and see what ports you're assigning to what WAN link and all that good stuff. But or what interface you're assigning to that WAN link. This is where you can assign the VLAN ID. VLAN ID for us is a native VLAN where it's untagged as 0. If I had a trunk port, I could add multiple of these, and I would, if I was using VLAN 2, 3, and 4, I would set them for VLAN 2, 3, and 4 by just adding them, and add another one, and just say, hey, VLAN 2, all that good stuff. But I don't need to do that today. All right, so I'm going to go to bridge pairs. I'm going to add a couple of bridge pairs. Now what this does is this allows the traffic to flow. Layer 2 traffic to flow in between. There we go. And between the ports. Alright. Got my bridge pairs going. So right now I've got, as you can see, I've got some audit errors. It's telling me exactly what's wrong, and I have no WAN link associated with it. Well, that's fine. I understand that. I haven't done it yet. And I've got some audit problems. I don't have an IP address. We'll write down here. We're going to assign an IP address to those ports. So a lot like a layer 3 switch, if you think about the difference between layer 2 switch and layer 3 switch has an IP address assigned to a VLAN instead of just VLANs assigned, and that IP address allows it to tap in to that traffic flow in that VLAN and manipulate that to put it on other VLANs. So we need an IP address to tap into these ports to be able to manipulate traffic. And this is where we assign that IP address. Now, some of the things that I'll need to get this configuration done is WAN link speeds, IP addresses for each WAN link, right? Subnets at each site. But this IP address can be reused as a WAN link IP. So it's not unique in that fashion. We'll put in 10.10.10.11, and we'll put in the subnet, and here's where you'll see the ports, how we're naming the port comes in handy. Alright, and the security zone is trusted, and we'll hit apply. Alright, perfect. Okay, and now we'll assign these WAN links and create none. Alright, so we got Raleigh, and then we have Raleigh MPLS. And then the access type. So what kind of access type is that WAN link? Is it public internet or is it private intranet? Because there are many different types of private links. There's VPN, there's MPLS. There could be multiple different types of MPLSs, VPLS. But anyway, all right. So let's do the settings. We created the MPLS as private intranet, and now we have physical rate and permitted rate, and then set permitted from physical. So the physical rate is actually how big the links are, right? 45 megs. And these in kbps. So 45,000. And the set permitted rate is setting the permitted rate same as the physical, right? So if the physical and the permitted, if we're only allowed to use 40 megs of this 45 meg pipe, you'd put 40 megs down here. And the caution is whatever you put down here is exactly what this LARA use. Nothing more. It will never go higher than the permitted rate. So, if whatever you put here is what you want us to use. Now, reason these would be separate is if we were sharing the link with some other traffic, and not so much in this scenario. We can go over it when we go over the client side a little bit. Maybe if on the client side, forget the diagram. Maybe if this guy over here was sharing with Guest Wireless, you knew you wouldn't be getting a full two up and 8 down. Something like that, where it was kind of sharing the link. But in this case, we own it, and it's our baby, so we're going to physical rate, permitted rate, all the same, private. All right, and we're going to hit apply. All right, perfect. Okay, and then we do the access interface. Alright, and to edit it, you can see that in the plus sign. By the way, when you're doing this, if you ever need to edit something, we'll hit the pencil right there. I know it's in edit mode because the pencil's there. So virtual interface, port 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I'm going to reuse that IP that I used before up here for my virtual IP addresses. That was 10.10.10.11. And then my gateway for the MPLS is 10.10.10.1. I know because of memory. And then I'm going to check proxy ARP, even though I probably don't need it in this scenario. But proxy ARP would mean if this router goes away, the Talari would act as a gateway. He would proxy any ARP request going up to that router and say, hey, send it to me. And then he would place the traffic over here and make sure it got to the other side. All right. Okay, so we got that guy. Hit apply. Alright, and now we need to add another LAN link. We still owe Raleigh an internet link, don't we? So he's going to be public internet, and we're going to add, and this was 20 and 20, so let's go ahead and add it. 20,000 and 20,000. Public internet, and hit apply. Okay, and we got our access interface. Port 1, 2, 3, and 4. 10.10.10.12. And then his gateway was 10.10.10.2. But this is actually perfect because this shows me I forgot something. So you see right here it says 10.10.10.12, 10.10.10.2 is my gateway. Well, on my internet link in the settings, over here, that's a private IP. I need to make sure I put in my public IP, which is going to be right over here at 1.1.1.1. So I go here, hit edit, and do 1.1.1. Alright, and hit apply. Okay, there we go. Alright, so my Raleigh site is now complete. My NCN is complete. And now I'm just going to work on my client. And what's nice about the client is if you got cookie cutter clients, and from then on all it is clone site. But building the first one just takes a little bit of time. So let's go ahead and get this site built. All right, San Jose. All right, San Jose T510. There we go, client. And we'll speed through this one a little faster since we've gone through all the others. Alright, and then we're going to add an interface group. Alright, port 1 and 2. And the bypass mode is failed to wire, right? Just to kind of remind you here. Failed to wire on this, untrusted on the port 3. Okay, and here we go. Port 1 and 2. And then we're going to bridge between port 1 and 2. There we go, apply. Oh, should have added my other one before hitting apply. That's okay. 3, bypass mode, fail to block. I wanted to act like a router because this thing is untrusted. You know, power goes off, nothing in. Alright. Port 3, untrusted. And I'm not going to be bridging. Alright, and with the untrusted mode, basically what that does is it's only UDP 2156 in or out, right? We will ARP for our gateway, and we will respond to pings. But other than that, you know, if it's not a Talari packet, then it's not coming in. Alright, so now we assign the virtual IP addresses. Alright, and we have 10.20. 10.11/24, and that's going to be port 1 and 2, and he's trusted, right? Yeah. And apply. Alright, and then we have 20.20.20/24, and he's on my untrusted. Fine. Okay, perfect. Alright, let's add the WAN links. And again, I'm speeding through it a little bit just because we've already done this. private intranet. Alright. Now the MPLS was T1, 1500. 1500. Alright. Access interface. Port 1 and 2. Use 10.20.10.11. And his gateway is 10.20.11.1. 10.1. Actually, let me just show you. It would have given me an error right there. See that? Taking me right there and said, oh, you got a problem. You got a problem. You need to fix it. It's always a good thing to have. Fix that and the red goes away. I like it. I like it a lot. Alright. So we have the access interface for MPLS. And we're going to add another. Alright. So San Jose. And this is going to be INET. Alright. Public Internet. There we go. Boom, boom. Alright. Hit it. And this one was WAN ingress. So into the WAN is WAN ingress. 2000. WAN egress is out of the WAN. Coming out of the WAN. 8000. There we go. So these are all going to be the same. Now remember what I talked about. If I was sharing with Guest Wireless, I'd take it down a notch and figure out what I needed from there. But I'm not sharing it. Now I don't need to auto detect public IP. If I had a DHCP address on my upstream modem and I had an internal IP, I could you know, let's just say the internal IP was 10.20, 10.30, you know, 10.1, and I had something on the outside of that modem, he was detecting public IPs. I could do an auto detect public IP. But since we have a public IP address on the untrusted port, I don't need to worry about it in this scenario. Alright. There we go. And here we go. Port 3, 20.20.20.20. The gateway is 20.20.20.1. Alright. Fine. Alright, perfect. And so we've got the two sites built. What we haven't done yet is added the route that says, hey, backhaul all my traffic. But that's alright, we can get to that a little bit later. Well, we'll do it right now. Let's do routes. Let's collapse down San Jose. Let's add the route here. And see how it says 000 pass through. We're going to say anything destined for 000 is going to be local. Send it to me. Send it to me. It's mine. Right? Now, in this scenario, I'm just going to make up a gateway address. Let's see, 10, 10, 10.13. There we go. Apply. Alright. So where do I send it once it comes to me? Who do I send it to? Because he's got subnets off that. So in this scenario, it would be something like a router down here. I'd have to send it to a router down here to get to those other subnets. Okay? Alright, so I've defined the sites, I've defined the routes. What's left? Alright, well the left is how do we connect the two? Right? Well, we're going to use the conduit. So here we have connections. Now I have some default sets here. Default sets will be for QoS and dynamic conduits and all that. And then there's for some applications. But what I'm going to do real quick is just do some autopath groups. Autopath groups kind of set up the WAN links into their own little groups, right? And default group is where the internet is. I just want to add a little group that sets up the MPLS real quick for us. Alright. And basically what it says right here is IP DSCP tagging any, yeah, everything looks good there. This is how we're setting it up. Let's rename it. I'm going to rename it MPLS. Alright, perfect. Okay. And you see, let's see, it says WAN link has no usage and no paths added. Alright, let's move that around a little bit. And here we go. Here we we go. Let's get this on WAN links. Oh, let's go back up here. We'll just go to the conduit here at Raleigh, San Jose, up here at the conduit. And we'll go to the local site, WAN links, and we'll edit here. And we'll have the default for the internet, and then we have the MPLS, and we have the MTU active detection on. And at the remote site, go to the WAN links. We'll edit here, and we'll make sure this has MPLS and the active detection on. Hit apply and close. And we have a clean config. And we have happy Telaria users. So your 2-site config is now complete, and we're ready to get this on the test bed and ready to get it going.